What's up, folks? Back with you today. And today I want to do a little bit of primer on trading in NBA Collect. There's a culture that's been created on these apps going all the way back to 2012 with the Bunt app. And then it's continued into Slam and Huddle and Disney and Star Wars and all these things. And so there's a way to do this that's going to help your trade rating. And then there's a way to do it that's going to hurt your trade rating. And so I just want to give you some do's and don'ts that'll maybe help you, especially if you're new to these apps, get a good start and maybe don't ruin your trade rating. You can see I've sent 66 trades so far and I still have a 5 of 5 rating, and that's because I do these things, right? I make sure first, we're going to start number one, to don't send people cards they already have. That's a big issue. And let me just show you how to do that real quickly. Let's just use this guy as an example. We're going to go to new trade. I'm going to click on cards to offer from my collection, and you just need to make sure this filter is selected. Cards they need, so that if it's off, all of your cards are gonna show up. But as long as it's selected, it's only gonna show them cards they actually need from your collection, and those are the cards you should send them. Don't send them stuff they already have. Why? Unless they ask for it. Some people will say, I'm hoarding this specific card or this specific player or this team. Then sure, turn that filter off and see what you can work out. But if they haven't said that explicitly, then don't send people cards they already have. I know for you, like for instance, I have, let's look at my collection right now. I have my cards, loads and loads of dupes of these uncommons and commons from this tip-off set, super rares, right? And you might need 7 of the rares from this set that I have. But if you send me 7 rares I already have, you're not helping me. So why should I do that trade, right? So you got to make sure that both people are getting something they need in a trade. Otherwise, it's just selfish, right? You're the only one benefiting. Some people will do that. Some people will do those swaps for you. But I'm just telling you, for best success long term, don't expect them to. You need to send them stuff they don't have already. And if you can't do that, and that might be the case, especially when you look at a count like mine, which already I'm at a 9.2K collection score. If you've got a 400 collection score, you might not have anything I need, right? Literally nothing. And so how are we going to work out a trade? Don't, go to somebody else. Don't go to me. Go find somebody closer to your collection score. That might be the better way. The next thing to know is that singles are almost never available for trade, right? Because everyone's trying to, or most people are trying to build these sets. And so, for instance, here's this common set that I'm set to get an award in. I'm going to get this DeMar DeRozan award in, 20 days? Oh, actually, this one they already give you. But I suppose I can go to this right here. This uncommon awards in 19 days. So I don't want to give up a single I might have from here and then miss out on my award. So a lot of times singles aren't for trade, especially at the lower levels. On the upper levels, iconics and legendaries, now that's a different story. A lot of people will trade singles because it's so much harder to go for those sets. So people will trade singles for their PC, for the things they're really trying to collect themselves. But at the lower levels, uncommon, common, the bases, it's really going to be difficult to get a single. And if you send a trade for a single, you need to send an overpay if you expect to get it accepted. Otherwise, you're going to get declined more often than not. As we move forward, right now there aren't a lot of cards in the database, but global count, when I click on this card, for instance, and it shows This number here on the right side, 3,083, that's the global count. Global count is king. That's what's going to matter. It's not necessarily going to be the tier, because there's going to be a wide variety of sets that are released. And at the end of the day, it doesn't matter what Topps identifies the tier as. What matters is how many actually exist in the game. So let that be your determining factor. Let that number 3,083 be the thing that guides the one of the things that guides the way you craft a trade. You don't want to send, even if it's an uncommon for an uncommon, you don't want to send a card where you're sending a 3,083 uncommon CC card and asking for a 200 CC uncommon card. It's going to be rare that you have those instances in the app, but it's going to come up. There are going to be various things that Topps does that where some uncommons are really low CC and some are really high. You don't want to send that kind of disparity because you're going to get rejected 9 times out of 10. The other thing that you need to think about when crafting a trade is going to be player quality, right? You don't want to send Alex Sarr for, let me see if I can find a good, De'Aaron Fox, I guess. I don't know. That barely matters. But for like a Chet Holmgren, I suppose, or for Victor Wembanyama, or for LeBron, right? The player matters. So you need to consider that when you're crafting the trade. If you send somebody Alex Sarr for Chet Holmgren, you probably get rejected, really. Because why should they accept the worst player for their better player? So you got to take that into account. You're going to lower your trade rating and get a lot of rejections if you don't take player quality into consideration. Now, it's early right now, but as we move forward, another important part of this is going to be active sets. And you always want to make sure to send active sets for active sets. So what does that mean? Pretty soon, tip-off collection, in 20 days, in 3 weeks, tip-off collection is going to be sold out, and you're not going to be able to get it anymore. And in theory, you might think, because people can't get it anymore, that makes it more valuable. But that's not the case, because this is such a set-driven marketplace. It's such a set-driven app. People don't want the sold-out stuff that they can't get the award from anymore. They want the new stuff, the active sets that they're going to be working on to try to get an award. And so when you send trades, you want to make sure you're matching active sets for active sets and not sending sold out things. Again, this is especially true on the lower levels of the tiers of uncommon, rare, common, and the bases. Maybe doesn't apply as much at the upper level. Other thing to remember, rookies are more in demand than anything else, right? And just like in physical collecting, Cooper Flag is going to be the big hot card in this set, and you can't expect someone to just trade a random Cooper Flag for De'Aaron Fox or something, right? Because the rookie is going to have more value long term. Another thing to think about is the contests. We have every day, we're going to have these contests during the season, and the boost on the card matters. For instance, this boost you can see on the right-hand side is 2.2x. A lot of cards, might have a 1x or 1.3x or whatever the case is. That's going to matter a lot, for one, that boost, but two, the fact that they have 10 slots to fill out. And so you might look at a account and say, well, this guy has 10 of this card, so surely he can trade one to me. But in reality, the user needs 10 of those cards for the contest because they want 10 high boost cards to use in the contest. So you got to understand that when you're dealing with a contest player, and you might get frustrated because you send a trade and he's got 10 of them or whatever, but there's a reason that they're using these for the contest. Other thing to think about is the secondary market, right? Especially now, this is when we start talking about the iconic and the legendary tiers, because they have real value on a secondary market where people will buy and sell these cards off of the app. And so, you could over time, this is going to become more important. Right now, there aren't enough cards really out there for it to matter. But for instance, I guess we could look at the Luka Doncic. Hold on one second. I'll pull this up. My locked cards. This Luka has been sold a couple times, I believe, in the group for around $10. It's probably not going to be long-term, the value on it, but that said, it is Luka's first iconic in the app, and it's a SIG relic, and people need it for the set and stuff like that. But anyway, so far it's gone for about $10. Meanwhile, the other cards in the set, I would imagine this Şengün probably goes for $2 or $3. So you might offer a Şengün for Doncic because you need it, because you need the Doncic, but in that case, you're losing or the other person would be losing $7 in value. They're going to reject that and one-star you 100 times out of 100. So you got to understand the secondary market as well. There are Facebook groups. You can look on eBay. You can look at 130point.com to sort of figure that out. To get a better grasp of the financial, what some of these cards are worth. Before I move on, we've got a trade here. Let's look at it and see. Okay, so this is an interesting mix right here, right? He's offering me 2 cards I don't have, and I did list that I was looking for tier 5s, and he's taking cards I have dupes of. So on the surface, that's a really good trade, right? The other thing to consider here is the boost on the cards. So someone might look at this trade and think, oh, they're offering me a rare for a tier 5. This is a bad trade, especially when, you look at CC as $12.89 on this one and $12.33. In the long run, the CC on these 2 cards is going to be a lot lower. However, these are 2.0 boost, and that matters, right? So you get a better boost. Also, I'm getting a rookie here in Cedric Howard. So to me, given the prevalence of these rares, how easy they are to get versus how difficult it is to get these tier 5s right now, and the higher boost, this is a good trade to me. I'm going to accept it and 5-star it. Now, timing matters, right? If they offered that same trade to me later in the season, I might reject it because, well, I mean, I got, it matters if you have it or not, but tier 5s for rares sometimes could be a bad trade. But right now, with what the boosts are and the value of a 2.0 boost, the fact I needed those 2 cards, this was a good trade to me. So yeah, you've got to take all these things into account as you consider this stuff. I was just talking about the secondary market, and so one thing I also want to mention is never in these comments, talk money. Maybe you buy a trade, maybe you buy a card off somebody on Facebook, and you write in here, hey, thanks for selling me this card for $10. Obviously you wouldn't say something like that, but just never, ever, ever do that. Anything like that, never send somebody something like, hey, are you selling this? And never post in the feed about, hey, selling my cards, things like that. It is completely against Topps terms of service in-app for sure to talk about money and to talk about selling your cards. You don't do that ever. That is a huge faux pas. Another thing I want to mention is not putting your trade partner at risk. And so what I mean by that is, let's say, for instance, this guy he's probably got an iconic. So let's say I wanted this card from him, and I do that, but I don't want to make an offer, right? Because obviously, one, maybe I don't know what he's looking for. He doesn't have a logo in his avatar there. But maybe I just want the power, right? I want him to make the first offer, so I'm going to send him this trade of, a base card for an iconic, and I'm going to put in the comments, hey, what do you want for this card? Don't do that, right? Because what you're doing is you're going to get a 1-star decline, because what you're doing is you're putting the other person at risk of accidentally accepting the trade. And that happens all the time. There are people that are actively out there sending bad trades like this to try to get people to accept a trade they shouldn't accept. And so if you do it like this, even if you're well intentioned and you're not trying to trick somebody, it's still just the wrong way to do it. What you should do instead of, let's say you want this Zion Williamson iconic, the best way to do it would be to go to like a low tier. So Klay Thompson here, and then let me quickly search for that same card. Klay. Well, that should work, right? Oh, wait, no. Klay. Tier 4. Do I have that? Somehow I think I have my tier 4 locked for some reason. I don't know. But imagine that's a tier 4. Imagine that's a tier 4. And basically what I'm saying is send the same card for the same card and then put the comment, hey, what are you looking for out of that Zion Williamson? If you don't want to send the offer, that's the better, safer, smarter way to do it than to send a tier 1 or tier 2 or whatever it is for an iconic. That's going to get you declined in 1 star. All right. And the very last thing I want to mention is it costs nothing to be kind to people, right? Please try to be kind to everyone, especially early on as people don't know values. There is an epidemic of bad trades being sent right now. Like people just, they're new to the apps. They don't understand sort of what they're doing. Just ignore them. Just go on about your day. Hit decline. 1 star them if you have to, and then move on. It costs nothing to be kind. There is enough toxicity in these apps. We don't need any more of it. So let's have a little bit of grace for everybody and try to make the app a little bit better of a place. All right, that's it for me.